Hello everyone, this is Vikram and welcome to my channel. In this video, we'll see everything there is to know to pass CK exam in 2022. So I've recently given my CK exam and I'll be sharing my exam experience as well. We'll talk about the technical instructions, about the exam, the related topics, tips and some common questions that you can expect in the examination. And also we are going to see how the new exam UI looks like in this video. So first let's understand about the exam. So this CK certification is for Kubernetes administrators, cloud administrators, and any other IT professionals who has some basic knowledge about Kubernetes and how to manage Kubernetes instances. And this certification is jointly created by Linux Foundation and CNCF. Okay, and a certified Kubernetes administrator, that means the one who got the CK certification. So basically, he will have the demonstrated skills about managing and operating Kubernetes clusters, configuring them, managing them, okay, creating some basic configuration files and writing some application oriented configuration files, everything. Okay, so you'll have thorough understanding of some key concepts such as Kubernetes networking, storage part, security, maintenance and logging and monitoring, application lifecycle management, troubleshooting the clusters, and API related information. Okay, and for writing the certification, you do not need any prerequisite. So anyone can take the exam. But the only thing is you should know everything there is to know about Kubernetes administration in order to pass CK exam. Okay,
Yeah.
understood. So it is a tool 2 hours online exam, and exam is proctored remotely. So there will be someone who will monitor you via video and audio both, but he'll only communicate through chat. Okay, so you will not be able to see him, but he can see you because you will have to give them you'll have to use webcam and all. And the exam consists of 15 to 20 performance based tasks. Okay, so there won't be any multiple choice questions. So they'll give you a question and you need to answer it. Okay, for every answer there is for every question there is a weightage, like 7%, 10%, like that. Okay, and you need to execute those questions on a Linux terminal. In my examination I got 17 questions. Okay,
Okay.
so which will add up to 100%. Yeah, you're asking something.
Yeah, it's like we need to write YAML file and we need to implement on that
Exactly.
platform, right?
Yes. Either it is imperative command or declarative YAML.
Okay.
Both. It can be anything. It's up to you. Okay.
Okay.
So a score of 66% or above is needed to pass CK exam. And I passed with 86 percentage. I'm sorry, I think I passed with 87 percentage. Okay. And exam environment is currently running version 1.25. So that's the latest version of Kubernetes. So your exam environment runs 1.25. You can also expect some questions related to the upgrade part. So in that case, maybe some nodes run on version 1.24 and they'll ask you to upgrade to 1.25. Okay, I did not get uh, I think I did not get any upgrade related questions, I think.
Okay. In live environment itself, we need to upgrade the Kubernetes.
Yes, so everything is there in the documentation. Just you need to run those commands.
Okay.
So mostly we'll be using kubeadm utility to upgrade the cluster, and all instructions are already available. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Okay, and results will be emailed after 24 hours from the time the exam is completed. I received it after 22 hours. Okay, and
Okay.
the current certification is valid for 3 years. So if you want to renew your certificate, you need to do it before 3 years only. So after 3 years, you'll not be able to renew it. Okay,
Yeah.
and digital certificate is provided through Credly. So Credly is another website which manages the digital version of your certificates. Okay, so you'll be given a certificate, so you can download it. Otherwise you can use Credly website to see your digital certificate, and also you can share that URL with anyone. If anyone wants to see your certificate, we can send them the Credly link. Okay,
Okay.
you can also add the Credly links to your LinkedIn and all those profiles. And also you can view your score and certificate from training portal dashboard. Score will not be printed on the certificate. Okay, you'll have to see it in the dashboard. Okay,
Okay.
and you know you can you need to have PSI secure browser, which has to be installed before the examination. So directly cannot give it. So they'll give you a browser software. So you need to install it and you need to open that browser. So automatically your exam will be started. Okay. And inside that browser, it looks like an exact VM basically. So you'll have terminal, Firefox browser, and other applications also. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to open the terminal and then start writing your AMLs and executing the questions. And for reference, you can open Kubernetes documentation in the Firefox browser. And another requirement is you should have a clean desk and environment. Okay, your desk should not have anything apart from your keyboard, mouse, and your laptop. Secondary monitors are not allowed. Okay, so I had a secondary monitor, but I did not connect it. Okay, so even if you connect a secondary monitor, right, the system will detect it before the
Okay.
examination. Okay, so it's better to remove it. And you need faster internet connectivity. Okay, because at the beginning of the exam they'll ask you to download this PSA browser, so it's better to have a fast internet connection. And also turn off any background applications, OneDrive, antivirus, any other applications like that, so that your internet bandwidth will be saved. Okay, and even if your exam is interrupted due to some power issue or connection problem, so you don't have to worry. Simply you can restart your PSA browser and then resume the examination. Okay, and
Yeah.
also you need to have a good webcam and a microphone. So I don't know why microphone is needed. Maybe to watch the environment, maybe because the proctor will only talk over the chart. He will not ask you to talk on the microphone and all. I had one earphone connected to my laptop. Okay, so he asked me to remove it.
Okay.
Okay, so exam interface is little sluggish, so it will be very laggy, but it is manageable. Okay, so inside the PSA browser, you have an environment, right, where you can open the terminal and browser, etc. So that UI is little laggy, but it's manageable. Okay,
Okay.
so kubectl is pre-installed and pre-configured with alias. Like if you type k, it is like kubectl only, because alias is already set, and all the auto completion related settings. Okay, everything is already done, so you don't have to do anything apart from um, basically executing the commands. Okay, so no vim configuration or kubectl configuration, nothing is needed like before. Okay, and also once you buy the examination, you'll get access to free CKA simulated sessions. Okay, offered by Killer Shell. So they'll give you 2 free sessions, which will replicate the exact not the exact examination, but you'll get some questions related to the actual examination also. Okay,
It's like mock test, right?
it's like mock test, yes. So you'll have 2 simulated sessions, both are same. So if you take one, so you don't have to take the other. Okay, because both will have the same questions. And each exam environment is valid for 36 hours. Okay, exam is for 1.5 hour, but after 1.5 hour you can still use that environment for 36 hours. And also after the examination you'll be given the answers to all the questions. So it's better, even though if you know how to answer them, it's better to refer the actual answer at the end of the examination. Okay, and the end of the mock sessions.
Okay.
Okay, I'll show you where to start the simulated sessions and all. Okay, so if you have not qualified due to due to any reason, you have an option to retake the examination. Okay, and retake will only be activated if you fail in the examination. Okay, so if you pass for the first time, you cannot take a retake. Okay,
Yeah.
and also once you schedule an exam, you can make any modifications like rescheduling only before 24 hours of the actual scheduled date. Okay, so after 24 hours you cannot reschedule the examination. You'll have to take it.
Okay.
Okay, so coming to the domains and various competencies tested. So you'll have various topics, right, in Kubernetes. So from the storage part, the weightage is 10%. You may get one or multiple questions that adds up to 10%. Okay, like questions from storage classes, persistent volume claims, access modes, PVC resizing, mounting of PVCs as a volume. So all these questions can be expected. Okay, so
Okay.
definitely you'll get one question from this. And coming to the troubleshooting, so you'll be asked to troubleshoot any applications which are not receiving traffic or which are not running, or troubleshoot nodes which are not in ready state. Okay, sometimes you'll be asked to find the logs of a container or a pod and then redirect it to some specific file. So all those file names will be given, and any sort of troubleshooting can be expected from networking, from applications, from nodes. It can be anything.
Okay, it's
Okay.
like they given the YAML file and we need to correct it like that.
No, it's not like that. Let's say you run kubectl get nodes. Okay, and
Okay,
one of the node is down. So let me quickly show you one environment, not even an environment, some kubectl commands. Okay.
okay,
uh, so if I run kubectl get nodes, so I'll get the list of all the nodes of the cluster. Okay, so if you see, I have three worker nodes, all are in the ready state. I don't have any master node. Okay, if you see roles, so nothing is marked as either control plane or master. So these are all worker nodes only because I'm using DigitalOcean managed cluster.
okay,
Okay, so here in some cases these will be in the not ready state. Okay, so how do
okay,
you debug that? So in most scenarios, so the kubelet process will be in the stopped state. Okay, so all you have to do is you have to start the kubectl, sorry, kubelet. I'm sorry, kubelet will be in the stopped state. What you can do is you can SSH into that node and then do systemctl start kubelet. Okay,
okay,
so that will again start kubelet, and kubelet will try to report the status of the node back to the API server, and then in some time we'll get the node status as ready. Oh, that's a normal use case, but there can be other issues also. Okay, you'll have to troubleshoot it.
okay.
Okay.
So for this we need to go through that installation steps as well, right? In
Yes.
order to
So I'll
debug.
also talk about this. So we did not cover it yet in our Kubernetes series, but I'll cover this also. Okay.
Okay, sure. No,
And coming to the
usually I thought
workloads.
like anyhow we will have steps, right? So we don't need to remember all those steps, but we need to remember, right, in order to take this.
Yeah, see, that's the most common issue. Kubernetes is not running. So you have to know all the component statuses, right? Whether they are running or not.
Yeah, that's
If the
fine.
node is not running, you have to see whether kubelet, because there will be only fewer components in worker nodes, right?
Okay.
Like kubelet, kubeproxy, and container runtime, right?
Yes.
So mostly you will check kubelet. Okay.
Okay.
In some situations, so kubelet will be in some location, right? Kubelet binary. It may be like user bin kubelet or somewhere. But your kubelet YAML file may be expecting binary file from somewhere. That's the reason why the process is failing. So in that case, you need to see from where your YAML, your system is expecting the binary file, and you need to either move your binary to that location, or you need to modify the system service file. Okay, I'll talk about all this.
Okay, fine.
And coming to workloads and scheduling, is it's 15% weightage. So you need to understand how to create a deployment, how to do a rolling update, how to roll back, use config maps and secrets, how to scale a deployment, stateful set, understanding resource limits like setting the resources in CPU and memory. Okay, so static pods, daemon sets, how to create a pod with two container images. So all these can be expected.
Okay.
Okay, and coming to the cluster architecture, installation and configuration. So you will have to understand what is RBAC. Okay, like cluster role binding, role binding, service account, how to use the bindings. Okay, and how to use kubeadm to install a cluster or upgrade an existing cluster, how to perform HCD backup and restore. So HCD backup and restore will be a sure short question, mostly in 99% of the cases. So there is only one command you need to understand. Okay, so we'll see in the class. Okay,
Yeah.
and coming to the networking part, so again this is 20% weightage. Okay, so you need to understand the networking between nodes and pods, how to expose applications through cluster IP, node port, load balancer, Okay, how to create ingress resources, do path based or host based routing. Okay,
Yeah.
understanding what are endpoint objects, finding the service IP. Okay, so all these you need to understand. Okay, now let's understand how your testing environment should be. Okay, so first thing is your workspace should be free from any clutter. You should not put any books, pens or anything on the table. So only your laptop and any keyboard and mouse are allowed. So your proctor will ask you to rotate your laptop camera, so he'll inspect your complete room, your all four walls, your desk, and underneath the desk. Okay, everything he'll ask you.
Okay.
Okay, and he'll only ask you through chat. Okay, as soon as you open PSA browser and you start the examination. Okay, um, so basically your proctor will monitor your complete room. Okay, so if he finds anything which is not allowed, he'll ask you to put somewhere. Okay, so you can also do that. And you should not put any posters on the walls. Paintings and general photos are allowed, it's not a problem. You should have excellent lighting in the room. Okay, and coming to the water bottles, so he'll allow only clear water bottles without any brand stickers or anything. Okay, and also
Okay.
he'll ask you to show your mobile phone, that's mandatory. And he'll ask you to put aside in front of him only in the while he was watching. He'll ask you to put your phones away from the work area. And also you should produce a valid ID a card, like your PAN card. Any government issued ID cards are permitted. And once all these tests are done, right, so he'll grant access to the test. So from that moment, so it will take some 2 minutes, and after that your test will be available for you to start.
Okay.
Okay, and you should have your own desktop or laptop, and you should have privileges to install PSA browser. So any of these documents are allowed. You can refer helm.sh, kubernetes.io, kubernetes.io blog docs. Okay, so if you see, I just entered this kubernetes.io. So all you have to do is you have to go to this documentation session, and you can search for any topic here. Okay, so if you see, if I just type hcd backup, it will give me some links, right? In most cases the links will be kubernetes.io only. But if you see, I have this backup and restore management. Okay, so this URL is different, so it is discuss.kubernetes.io. Okay, so in my
Okay.
case, even this domain was allowed, so he didn't say anything when I opened this. So this is the exact command that you need to use for hcd backup and restore. So I opened it, but he did not say anything. Okay, so in the actual candidate handbook that you get, so that domain is not mentioned, but I think this is completely okay to visit.
Okay.
Okay, and also if you log into any node, like if you log into any worker node, and if you need any root privileges, you can simply do sudo hyphen I. Okay, so this will
Okay.
grant you root privileges, so you can install anything if it is needed. And also direct control C control V will not work inside the terminal in the virtual in the remote system. Okay, so you should use control shift, okay, combination to copy, and control shift C to paste.
Okay.
Okay, so as soon as you open the terminal, right, so you'll be logged into a node, right? That
Hmm.
is called the base node. So you can also see the node name, it will be node hyphen one. You should not reboot this node. Okay, you should not do like in it
Okay. Init
6 or
6.
anything related to the reboot command. So you should not reboot it. If you reboot it, it will not restart your environment. Okay, so do not reboot any node.
Okay.
Okay, so there will be 6 clusters. Okay,
Vikram, if unknowingly we click any other browser, I mean web link to you
so he'll
suggest like.
ask you to close it.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Okay, so I answered all the 100% of the questions by looking at kubernetes.io documentation only. So you will
Okay.
not need any website, and of course you cannot open it.
Okay.
Okay, so there will be 6 clusters for all the 17 questions which I got. Okay, so before answering any question, they'll give you this command like kubectl config use context and name of the context. Okay, to properly select a cluster. You don't have to remember this command. Okay, of course you will know this command, but this whole command will be given in the question at the beginning of the question itself.
Okay.
Okay, so once you as select this cluster, you can start, answering your question. Okay, so in many cases, you will need to SSH into a node. Let's say I have a worker node which is not running, so I can simply use SSH and name of the worker node. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Understood. You can use SSH and name of the node to enter that node. Okay, after entering that node, if you need any root privileges, you can use sudo -y, and then you can perform anything. Okay, that is SSH into a node. But after you're done working in that node, you need to come back to the base node. Okay, right.
Okay.
You need to come
Yes,
back
correct.
by just typing exit.
Exit.
You can come back to the base node, and then only you should answer the next question. Okay, nested
Okay.
SSH is not possible, like SSH into a node and again SSHing into another node. It is not possible. You have to come back to the base node, and then only you need to SSH into another node.
Okay.
Okay, and yeah, so you can also run, let's say there is a node 1, so there is a node 2. You need to SSH into node 2 and run some command. So what you will do, you'll SSH into this node 2 by the node name, and then you'll execute some commands there. It's not needed, so you can simply use SSH and the name of the node. In the single quotes, you can give the command which you wanted to run in that particular node without actually SSHing into that node.
Okay.
Okay, otherwise you can also do it, but there is this short command you can follow. And wherever there is no namespace specified, you should always consider default as the namespace. Okay,
Okay.
so if there is no namespace mentioned, default should be assumed. And before the exam, okay, so you should run this PSI online security check. So the exam, actually once you schedule, not schedule, once you buy the examination, so this is what you're going to get. Okay, so you should agree to some agreements and then verify your name. Okay, platform will be Ubuntu. Okay, and you need to check your system requirements. So this option, if you click on the check button, automatically it will perform a security check, and then it will tell you whether your system is compatible enough to take CKA. Okay,
Okay.
and then somewhere here before scheduling the examination, so here you'll get an option to access the simulator. Okay, then you can access the simulator. Okay, and then here it will give you schedule the exam. Some button will be here, then you can schedule the examination. Okay, and once you take the examination, you'll get this certificate number and your total score, etc. Okay,
Yeah.
understood. And on the exam day, let's say you schedule today, so you can log in actually 30 minutes early. So before 30 minutes only, your take exam button here, it will be activated at this location. Okay,
Okay.
and then once you click on start examination, first it will ask you to download this PSA browser, which is nearly 350 MB. That's the reason why I said you need to have good internet connection. Okay, once you install that browser, your verification process will start. So proctor will contact you through chat. He'll ask you to produce all the identifications like your ID card, and then he'll ask you to rotate your laptop camera to see your desk, your walls, etc. Okay, and if everything is done and successfully verified, he'll give you access to the exam. Okay, so your PSA browser, so it will look like this, and the size is nearly 350 MB. Okay,
Okay.
so this is how the exam UI looks like. So once they give access to the exam, okay, so actually UI is this, but let me show you this one first. So on the top you'll have other options like zooming out the windows, your time elapsed, your option to contact the proctor over chat, all these options. So on the top you'll have the question, Okay, so you can go to other questions like this, and then here you'll have option to change context. Okay, you'll be given the command. So what you have to do, on the right hand side you'll have Linux desktop. You open this terminal. So as soon as you open the terminal, you'll have access to the base node, excuse me. Okay, so here you'll have to enter that kubectl change context, use context command. Okay, and
Okay.
then you'll have the question and its description. So after entering the context, you can start writing your YAMLs or running any commands to answer the question. And once you are done, okay, so you can simply click on this. So it will take you to the next question. Okay, so this will confirm your answer here.
Okay.
Okay, and then
So
you
here,
can go.
so if I am writing a YAML file, then
Hmm.
for one time I am just executing it
Hmm.
to see the output. Based on the output, I am just going to
It's
modify the another. Is it
Yeah, you
okay
can
to
modify it n number of times.
we can
You can
run
modify, you
kubectl
can
run? Can I
delete.
kubectl
Yes,
apply? Okay.
yes.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So one thing you need to remember here is, let's say, see, the environment is common, right? So the desktop is common. Okay, for your environment for all the questions. So if you're answering question number one, and if you have to write an YAML file, just use 1.yml or vi1. So try to name them like this so that you can come back and see the actual YAML for individual questions.
Okay.
Okay, so if you need to write two YAMLs, right? Let's say use vi1a dot YAML and write other YAML in sorry 1b dot YAML, so it will be easy to identify. Okay, once you come back to the other questions.
Okay.
Okay, let's say that you are unable to solve this question. So what you can do is you can flag it. So flag is just like a bookmark. Okay,
Okay.
if you flag it, so if you click here, your all the number of questions will come in the drop down. So on the question which you flagged, your flag will come, so that you will understand which questions are currently left out by you. Okay, so immediately you can go back to that question and then start answering, and then click on next question like this.
Okay. We can also come
Okay,
back, right? Once.
other questions. Yes, so even if you answer first question correctly, if you are still not sure whether it is correct or not, you can again come back, change the context, and start executing the commands again.
Okay.
Okay, so the exam UI
So
just looks
here we
like
come.
this.
So let's take two questions. Like if we are the two questions are like using the same Linux host, right, in background.
Hmm.
So if I'm
Hmm.
creating some namespace in one first question,
Hmm.
so for second question the namespace which I'm not supposed to use, right? So does it have any conflict?
That's why they'll give you an option to change context. So every time you are performing questions in a different cluster.
Oh, cluster. Okay, got it. Okay, fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you have to use the same cluster, they will take care of that questions accordingly. Okay,
Okay. Okay, got it.
so here if you see, there is a drop down, you can see all the questions, and then you'll have option to flag your question here. This is your question. So somewhere you'll have the context at the beginning of the question, and then this is the time remaining. Okay, and then here they'll give you links. Okay, quick links, links to the documentation and all, but you don't have to use it. So automatically, beginning of the examination only, you open the Firefox browser and start looking at the documentation. You don't have to use these quick links and all.
Okay.
Okay, and then this is your environment, this is your question area, and then once your examination is done, so this is will be a video feed. Okay, and
Okay.
this is to minimize the top bar. Okay, and if you want to end the exam, so what he'll ask you is he'll ask you to end it by clicking on this end exam here. Okay, and once you click
Okay.
on end exam, the system will prompt you to end proctoring session. Then you need to end this proctoring session. But if you want to ask how to end the examination and all, you can simply click on this live chat and then talk to the proctor. Okay,
Okay.
any questions, like if you want to take a break, if you want to communicate with him, you can always talk to the proctor. And
Okay.
after the examination, within 24 hours you'll get this certificate, and whether you're qualified or not, and then you can click on this view link to view your certificate. Okay,
Yeah.
and these are the various topics that you are going to be tested, like pods, how to create pods with multi containers, pods with certain labels, deployments, services, persistent volumes and persistent volume claims, RBAC, service accounts, cluster upgrade, HCD backup and restore, manual scheduling using node name, node selector, tains and relations, matrices like finding out the resources used by pods, nodes and containers, volumes, debugging. Okay,
Okay.
ingress resources, namespaces, daemon sets, config map secrets, JSON path. So JSON path is very important. Okay, so I didn't cover it, but we will see JSON path also. And these
Okay.
are the very common questions like HCD backup and restore, how to upgrade the cluster from one version to another version, role based access control. Okay, and then you'll be asked to find all the nodes which are not ready, and then they'll ask you to write that answer to a file, something like that. Okay, and they'll also ask you like find the pod that is consuming maximum CPU. So you can use kubectl top pods and find the pod that is using max CPU. And then they'll ask you, see, every answer has to be recorded, right? That's why if it is an imperative command, so they cannot validate it. That's why they'll ask you to write the answer to some file, and then they'll validate that file. So in this case, they'll ask you to find that pod, and they'll ask you to write the pod name to a file. Okay, and some questions like adding a second container. Okay, so if you had practiced, you would have understood like so only certain parameters in a pod can be changed. Let's say pod is running, and if you do kubectl edit, and if you try to add another container to the pod, it will not take. Okay,
Yes.
right. So you have to basically take the YAML out of that pod. I mean, take the YAML of that pod, like kubectl get pod name, and then output in the YAML format, and then you delete that pod, and then you edit the YAML, create a new pod with all the required specifications, new specifications. Okay,
Okay.
I'll try to cover all these things. Okay, and then you'll also be asked to create a PVC of certain size, and then they'll ask you to mount it into some particular container of a pod, and then they'll ask you to change the PVC size to some value. Okay, questions can be expected in pods also, like create a pod with two containers. Every specification is given. Okay, container names, image names, or
Okay.
ports, environment, every detail will be given. Even container name has to be changed if they give. Okay,
Okay. So here introduction also we need to follow, right? Exactly.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Anyways, it is all copy paste work only from
Okay.
kubernetes.ie.
Okay. Fine.
Like scaling a deployment to 3 replicas, create a deployment with X image and Y tag, and later they'll ask you to change the tag to some value, and they'll ask you to record the changes. Okay, so they'll
Okay.
ask about manually scheduling a pod onto certain node with certain labels, schedule a pod
Okay.
on the master node. Okay, using taints and tolerations, or maybe using a node name property. So it's all depends upon the question. You need to understand the question. Okay,
Okay.
and then drain the work nodes from a node. I'll cover this. Create a network policy. A Kubernetes worker node is in not ready state. How do you investigate the issue, and how do you solve it? Okay,
So
and
for this question, Vikram, so it's like scenario based questions, right? So for this,
scenario based, all are scenario based questions.
so how we will write a YAML file for this, like
See, or
for
not all
debugging.
things require YAML files. So if they ask you to, drain all workloads from a particular node, the command is only kubectl drain and the name of the node.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. So it will drain all the workloads. So once it is drained, you need to see whether any pod is running in that node or not. Ideally, it should not run, right?
Yes.
So that verification you need to do.
Okay.
Okay, all they'll check is they'll check whether that workload is running any pods or not. So that is their verification.
Okay.
Okay, and also setting some CPU and mem limits. Okay, like that, mem limits on a container, and then some security context also they'll ask you, like running a particular container with certain user ID and group ID. and sort all the pods by their order of creation. So you'll have hundreds of pods. Okay, they'll ask you to order them by order of creation. So this requires knowledge of JSON path. Okay,
Okay.
how to filter them, sorry, how to order them by time or by their actual PVC size. It can be anything. Okay, and write all
Okay.
namespace resources to a file. Okay, by running kubectl API resources. Okay, so if I
We
just
can use also
show you
use
this.
shell commands as well, right? Or Python as well, right?
No, no,
Like grep.
those things are all not needed.
Okay.
If you see, I'm just using kubectl API resources. Okay, so some resources are namespaced true and some are namespaced false, but they're asking us to find only namespaced as true. Okay,
True.
but we
Yeah.
don't know how to filter them. So all you have to do is first you need to check the help section by running -h. Okay, if you see already they have this command which will display
Okay.
all the namespaced resources. Okay, so that's the reason why I'm saying so everything is already given in the documentation and
Okay.
in the help section of the command. See, these are all the namespace resources, but they're asking you to write only the names. Okay,
Okay.
so how do you write only the names? So for that also there is a command known as -o name. Okay, it will
Okay.
print only the name. See, then they'll ask you to redirect all these
So
things
fine.
into a particular file. So that is one more thing that they'll ask you to write.
Okay.
Okay, so these type of questions require so these are very simple and you need to practice them at least once. Okay, I'll
Okay.
teach all of this. Then see, filter pods by certain labels and write the results to a file. Okay, so how do you write it? You write kubectl get pods, and how do you filter them with certain labels?
I
Okay, it's like
hyphen
-l and the variable sorry key and
value.
the value. So like this, and again they'll ask you to filter and then redirect it to a file. Okay, they'll also ask you to create a pod with certain labels. Okay,
Okay.
and then they'll ask you to delete a container from a node. So how to delete a container? It's not a pod, you cannot run kubectl delete. So they're asking about container. So container means we should use docker rm, right?
Yes.
So if they ask you to delete a container belonging to a particular pod, okay, what you have to do first, you need to see where this pod is running, in which node. Okay, then you will ssh into that node. Okay, and then do docker ps, correct?
And then
See
yes.
that
And then
container and then use docker rm, like these questions.
okay.
Okay, and then it'll ask you to write a container that will run some commands like sleep or ls or cat, it can be anything. Okay,
Mm.
and then they'll ask you to print all the clusters from the kubeconfig file and then rewrite it to a file. Okay, create a pod with some environment variables or mount a config map as a volume, mount a secret as a volume. So all these things we already seen.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are some of the tips from my side. Like exam is very easy if you know, if you understand all the topics clearly and if you know how to search for this. Okay, in the documentation. So if you see, I'll see, this is how I'll find. So if you go to the documentation, let's say I need to resize a PVC. Okay, I don't know whether this keyword is available or not, but simply search it. See, it already came here. Okay,
Okay.
like they'll ask you to work on persistent volumes. Okay, so I can search for the persistent volumes and see all the proper links. So this is where, see, so this is a concept part, and if there is already a task related to that, I'll definitely get the appropriate YAML directly from here. See,
Okay.
okay, so this is the concept part. Okay, so if I see the concept and if I have to find the YAML in this one, so what I have to do is, so I have to click on Control F. Okay, and then simply I know that it will be kind and some pod or some persistent volume. See, if I search with this kind keyword directly, I'll be able to find all the manifest files. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
so these are the small tips you can follow to search for the YAMLs very quickly. Okay, and also
Yeah.
have a local minikube cluster or any cluster so that you can practice all the concepts, and you should go through official documentation for each and everything and understand how to search them quickly. Okay, searching the topics and also searching the YAML definition by using this kind colon resource name. Okay, and you need to complete at least one session of simulator by killer shell so that you'll understand the questions, their difficulty level. Okay, actually the simulators questions are very difficult, but actual examination will be little easy. Okay,
Okay.
so you'll have enough time to answer all the questions. Don't look at the timer. Okay, you'll have enough time. Okay, you'll be easily able to complete it in 1 hour if you have practiced very well. I completed it in sorry, you'll have 2 hours to complete the exam, but you can easily complete it in 1.5 hour. Okay, you will still have half an hour. Mostly people will say that you can verify the answers after the examination, but don't do that. In my case, once I executed some task, I immediately verified it. Okay,
Okay.
whether I've created the pod with correct name, correct container images. Okay, I verified it then and there, and then I went to the next question. So if I'm unable to verify it at that moment, I used to flag it, but I never used to go back and again check the answered questions. Okay,
Okay.
it will simply waste of my time, so I checked it then and there itself, and still I was able to complete it in 1.5 hour. Okay, and don't think about setting any aliases and all, because even if you set, at that moment you will not use them. You will end up typing the full command. Because I also set some aliases, but I never use them in the examination. It's simply
Okay.
waste of your time. Directly start answering the question. Even if the command is little lengthy to type, just type it.
Okay.
Okay, so there is nothing wrong in typing the whole command. Okay, and wherever you get declarative YAML questions, so use the imperative commands, and then use dry run to generate the YAML format like this, and then start editing the YAML file. Okay, of course you can also copy from the official documentation. That's up to you. And also use hyphen h effectively, like everything is there in the help section. Okay, so if you don't know how to create a service account, so you can just use qstl create sa hyphen h, so you'll have a complete command given. And also you don't know how to create a role, so just use qstl create role hyphen h. You will get n number of examples here itself. Okay,
Okay.
so instead of creating an YAML, directly create the imperative command and execute it. That will be much easier. Okay,
Yeah.
so just don't run for documentation. You can also use the help pages here, and also use the imperative commands. Okay, that is a lot easier. And whenever
Okay.
you're done with your answering the question, you can also verify it by running describe or checking the logs. Okay, whatever command that is suitable to check the answers, you just check it then and there itself, and flag the question if you cannot answer it at that moment, and go to the next question. Okay, so by looking at the question itself, you'll understand whether it will take a lot of time or it will be easy to solve. Okay, so it is up to you. So in my case, even if the question is taking some time, okay, I did it because it was easier.
Okay.
Okay, and remember one thing, always run the context command to switch to the correct context before answering the next question. Okay, because every question depends upon the cluster. Okay, so you'll be executing it in a different cluster, so always make sure that you uh, you know switch to the correct cluster by selecting the right context. Okay,
Okay. So
and also
if
as I
I unknowingly created some other extra resources or object, does it affect my score?
no, it won't. So only thing is they'll see whether the answer they're
Accurate.
expecting is there or not, correct or not.
Okay.
But you will not be creating any other. See, so if they ask you to create a pod and if you create a service also, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, and here let's say you have to delete a pod. So instead of using kubeshell delete pod and name of the pod, So it will take some time, right? Before
Yes.
if you want to delete it immediately, so you can set the grace period to 0 and hyphen 4. So if you don't know like whether this option is available or not, you can use keep still delete hyphen h, and somewhere they'll also give you this grace period. Okay, so let me grep and see whether it is coming here or not. See here, grace period. See hyphen grace period to 0. Okay, and also you can use hyphen force. Okay, so delete it immediately. Okay,
Okay.
and if you want to see the names only, okay, see there are different types of formats, like we can use hyphen o json, hyphen o yaml, right?
Yes.
Similarly, you can also use hyphen on name, so display the resources name, because they'll ask you to only just print the names. See, they'll never check which command you have used. Okay, so if you see this kubectl get resources, sorry, API resources command, right? So they'll ask you to redirect or create a file with all namespace resources. Okay, so the actual command is like this. If they ask you to just put all the names, so you can simply also copy paste. Okay, so I'm not saying you cannot copy paste like this manually, also you can copy paste, but there are commands readily available. Okay, like
Okay.
iPhone only, so this will also work. Okay, all they look at is they look at the actual answer. Okay, that
Okay.
is by looking at the file. Okay, so they know how many lines will be there in that file. Okay,
Okay.
understood. So those are the various tips. Okay, and so wherever possible, use short names only, like PO for pod, SVC for service, PVC for network policies. Instead of typing network policy, just type netpol. So you can also get those shortcuts in kubectl API resources. Okay,
Yeah.
and learn JSON path. You will get at least one question. Okay, so JSON path is also available. So if I simply search for JSON path, all the questions related to the exam are already given. Okay, so you need to come back to this. Okay, command line kubectl reference. So this is where JSON path is available. Okay, so if you go to the bottom here, okay, how to
Okay.
filter, how to use JSON path. Okay, see sort by. I told you know to sort all the pods by
Yeah.
the time of
List.
creation. So it is kubectl get pod hyphen sort by. So here you'll have metadata dot creation timestamp. So there will be one key that I'll tell you. See here, they're saying list all events by timestamp. So instead of events, you just put PO.
Okay.
Okay. So everything is already there in output JSON path. Okay. So if you see this entire kubectl functionality, like what are the various things are available to work with kubectl. See, hyphen o json, hyphen o name, hyphen o json path, hyphen o custom columns, wide yaml. Okay, so you have to go through this kubectl reference, command line reference, at least once to understand the available options. Okay,
Okay.
so finally, so this is how your certification looks like. So I got 87. So I'll tell you why I got 87 also. And this is Credly. So the automatically once your certificate is issued, so Credly, you'll get an email from Credly to create an account. So once an account is created, so within that account you can see all the digital certificates. Okay.
Okay.
So from here you can also share your certificate and all that stuff. So why I missed those 13 marks is I got a question. So I was asked to resize a PVC. Okay, so the question was like this: to create a PVC and attach it to a pod as a volume. Okay, I created a PVC and attached it to the pod. Everything was fine, and then they asked me to increase that PVC to certain number. Okay, so I was editing the PVC, okay, using both kubectl edit and kubectl match, but nothing is changing that PVC size. Understood?
Okay.
So I thought it will take some time, and then I stopped the examination. I thought maybe it will take some time, but the answer is not that. So according to the documentation, in order for the PVC to complete resizing, you need to delete and recreate the pod. Automatically, it will take the new PVC size.
Okay.
Okay. So I did not delete that pod. Pod was using it. That's why I was not able to see the resized value. But according to the documentation, so if I just go back to the documentation and search for resize a PVC, there is this resizing a PVC. Also there is this blog. Okay, so here they mentioned, okay, so once the PVC has the condition, so what I was doing is, so I was actually using the kubectl describe PVC command. So somewhere I got this PVC size pending type. Okay, so in the documentation,
Okay.
what they are saying is, in order for the PVC to complete resizing, so you need to resize, delete and recreate that pod. Okay, or
Okay.
if it is deployment, scale it to 0 and then scale it up again, then only this PVC resizing completes. So this one I did not check. Okay, so what I did
Okay.
is I just used PVC, and then I followed this particular method to create a PV, and then create a PVC, and also to mount it in a pod exactly like this, but with all the names given in the examination. But I did not see that discussion in the blog.
Block. Okay.
So due to this, I think I lost 7% of the score. Okay. So which
Okay.
costed me, I think, nearly some 10 or 13 marks. I'm not sure what all questions I uh, got wrong, but this is a sure shot wrong.
Okay.
Okay. So that's why I say always refer the documentation. So you don't have to worry about it. For any topic that you learn, go through the documentation, understand all the YAMLs, execute them in the live cluster like Minikube and KubeADM. That is enough.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't have to keep an eye on the timer. Okay, so it is just a waste of time. You will be able to complete it on time, or maybe even half an hour before the actual 2 hours. So that is about my CK experience, and so these are the various things needed to pass CK exam according to the 2022 examination syllabus.